My cousin, Isolde Gallo, the crown jewel of our crime family, always took pleasure in destroying my life, especially by stealing the men I was with. Once she had them, she would cast them aside and boast to the family about how they had fallen head over heels for her. When Isolde pulled the same old trick again, she had no idea she was stepping right into the grave I had dug for her. I was certain that this time, she would be dragged into a bloody abyss from which there was no return. 1. My cousin, Isolde Gallo, had been single for 3 years since breaking off her engagement, but she still lived an extravagant lifestyle, funded by the monthly checks from her ex-fiancé, Silas Croft. I'd heard she amused herself with the family's soldados, keeping any handsome face she fancied as her plaything. She was, by all accounts, living a dream life. Recently, she had found her next target, my boyfriend of 6 months, Christian Thorne. To be honest, I wasn't surprised Isolde found out about him so quickly. After all, my vain mother, Caterina Marino, had stumbled upon him when she visited my apartment. My mother's fatal flaw was a fanatical obsession with one-upmanship. Isolde's former engagement had brought immense benefits to the family, so much so that even after it was called off, she remained the most dazzling principessa of the Marino family. My aunt, Bianca Gallo, loved to flaunt the status and wealth Isolde had secured in my mother's face. Because of this, my mother made it her personal mission to find me a husband more powerful than Silas. So, the fact that I was still single had become a constant source of her frustration. I first met Christian at an art auction. He had caught my eye from across the room, and I spent the better part of a year orchestrating ways to catch his attention. He was younger and more dangerous than Silas. If that wasn't enough, Christian had the entire Thorne family behind him. As a potential son-in-law, he was everything my mother had ever dreamed of. She couldn't wait to show him off at a family gathering. In fact, she even declared that I would soon be marrying into the Thorne family. Watching her, I squeezed my eyes shut in weary resignation. Then, I bowed my head before everyone and said softly, "It's not that serious. Please, don't read too much into it." My mother immediately shoved a photo in my face and whispered harshly, "Not serious? A man this striking, this powerful, and you're telling me it's not serious?" Isolde immediately interjected, "Wow, Adeline, where did you find such a dangerous-looking man? Want me to vet him for you?" I didn't bother to reply, because I knew she would do as she pleased whether I liked it or not. Fortunately, this time, I had a special gift prepared for her. On the very first day we started dating, I had warned Christian about Isolde. I told him she was beautiful and arrogant. I also told him she had a habit of poaching my boyfriends. Christian teased me, "Are you afraid I'll fall for her?" I just smiled and replied, "No, I'm just worried she'll eat you alive." After all, every one of my exes ended up stripped of their dignity. He pulled me into his arms and whispered in my ear, "I promise you, that won't happen this time. I only want you, Adeline." He took my warning to heart. When Isolde first sent word, he ignored her. He even complained to me about her repeatedly. "Your cousin Isolde is relentless. She keeps trying to get in touch with me in every way imaginable." I kissed his cheek and praised him. "You need to stand firm, my hero. Don't even think about responding. She knows all the tricks." Without a second thought, he ignored Isolde's invitation again, then looked me in the eye and said, "My father wants to meet you. I've been singing your praises, and he's eager to finally meet you. He keeps pointing out that we've been together for 6 months, and he still doesn't even know what you look like." My body tensed. I forced a smile, ruffling his hair. "Just give me a little more time, okay? There's been a lot going on with the family lately. I promise I'll visit your father as soon as I'm through this. Don't be nervous. Trust me, my father will be thrilled just to meet you. We can grab a simple meal at a hotel my family owns." Perhaps seeing that Christian was consistently ignoring her, Isolde grew impatient and suddenly announced she wanted to stay with me for a few days. I flatly refused. Unfortunately, my mother was eager to show off the new apartment Christian had arranged for me and promptly gave Isolde the security code. As a result, when I came home from work, I was greeted by the sight of Isolde and Christian sitting side by side on the sofa, both staring out the window, lost in their own thoughts. The moment Christian saw me, he dragged me into the bedroom. "I swear I didn't even look at her," he complained in a low, angry voice. "How dare she just barge in here? My mother probably gave her the code," I said with a casual shrug. "Isolde is just like that. You just have to ignore her." Despite Christian's repeated assurances that he had truly ignored Isolde, I couldn't shake the unease coiling in my gut. The image of them sitting together on the sofa burned in my mind, each replay twisting the knot in my stomach tighter. Christian wouldn't do this to me, would he? After everything? One night with Isolde, and he'd just fall for her? No matter how hard I tried to think positively, I couldn't silence the insecurity gnawing at me. It was partly my own damage, but mostly, I wasn't sure how long Christian could really hold her at bay. Christian didn't stay the night. He had a private residence a few blocks away, so he went there instead. But he still appeared the next morning with breakfast. He brought a full spread from the most famous French pâtisserie in the city. When Isolde saw it, a triumphant smirk spread across her lip. "Did you bring so much because you knew I was here, Christian?" she purred. "Oh, and you even bought me macarons from that little shop I love. It's a shame they never deliver. You must have gotten up at the crack of dawn to pick them up." Christian glanced at her. "No, I actually forgot you were here, so now we're 2 portions short. Adeline isn't a big eater in the morning, so I just bought some options for her." Isolde hummed, but her hand was restlessly drumming her freshly manicured nails against the table. It was a little habit of hers when her competitive streak was fired up. I knew right then that her mild interest in Christian had hardened into a determination to conquer him. I couldn't help but squeeze his hand. His confused glance told me my grip was too tight. I quickly apologized and excused myself from the table. That evening, when I came home from work, I found the two of them on the sofa together again. Christian saw me and immediately stood up, intercepting me. Then, he lowered his voice and fired off a series of questions. "Doesn't Isolde have a life of her own? Why is she here every day? Doesn't she have her own place? What is she even doing here?" I looked up at him. "She'll probably leave you alone alone once you stop ignoring her. He froze at my response. He hesitated. I already agreed to meet her for a drink. She promised she'd leave tomorrow if I did. I just hummed and walked into the bedroom. Christian followed me in, wrapping his arms around me, and asking if I was angry. I just don't want to see her here all the time. Besides, I can just mute her, he said, holding up his phone to prove his point. See, I've already blocked her on everything. I said nothing. My disappointment must have been written all over my face because he spent the next hour trying to win me back over. He spent the entire dinner trying to placate me, piling food onto my plate and telling stupid jokes. From across the table, Isolde just smiled. You're so considerate, Christian. Christian pointedly ignored her, turning his full attention to me. He began detailing some trouble the Thorne family business was facing with its expansion into new territory. Isolde, annoyed at being ignored, deliberately clattered her silverware. When we both looked over, she smiled sweetly. My apologies. I got a little excited when you mentioned that topic. After all, that's my strong suit. Seeing the confused look on his face, she elaborated. My ex-fiancé has connections at the ports. He's always been generous about letting me use them. For Adeline's sake, I can help you move that cargo. She even described in detail the shipping routes she could access. I could tell Christian was tempted. He glanced at me awkwardly, then turned to Isolde. Wouldn't that be an inconvenience? After all, those connections are tied to your ex-fiancé. Oh, please, she replied breezily. It's a small favor. Just wait for my good news. This time, Christian didn't refuse her. I knew instantly that he would unblock her number. Sure enough, he followed me into the bedroom later and said, Isolde doesn't seem so bad after all. She seems quite genuine. I just glanced at him, my eyes already stinging. He immediately started to backtrack, his voice gentle. I didn't mean anything by it. Besides, do you really think I'd be interested in a woman who's still entangled with her ex? Isolde left my place the next day. Coincidentally, Christian didn't come over for several days after that.